You've dealt with a lot of children that have gotten a hold of these products accidentally and show up in the ER.
Yeah, Dr. Phil, the #1 poisoning in children in the United States in babies under the age of 5 is THC. We treated a child who got into his mom's gummy bears, one gummy bear. He ended up in a coma with his eyes rotating on his head, and there's no antidote. He just had to be in the hospital and wait for it to detoxify. And I just wanted to correct a couple points, Karen, that you made. One point that you made is it's safer than alcohol, and I just wanted to differ on that. No one died from one smoke of tobacco, and that's kind of the analogy you're making with marijuana. But if you look at completed teen suicides, you have way more deaths with THC, the active component of marijuana, than you do from alcohol. So that's one example where it's not safer. Alcohol use doesn't cause psychosis, where it's a really high risk with THC. You don't have agitated delirium and a whole slew of other complaints with alcohol. So I think, just saying, oh, it's safer than alcohol, we have to look at every product for its specific risks.
I was just looking at the CDC data to see how many deaths there were due to alcohol, and it said there were 990 deaths due to alcohol-induced psychosis. So I just wanted to correct that there are indeed, according to the CDC, hundreds of deaths from alcohol-induced psychosis that are part of the 82,000 a year from alcohol.
And they happen not to be measuring the ones with their cannabis-induced psychosis. There's not even an ICD-10 code yet for cannabis-induced psychosis. So I believe that the data that you're saying, I haven't checked it for myself, but I know that we're just not capturing as a country all the harms in data related to cannabis.
Now, Major Neill Franklin, a 34-year-old law enforcement veteran of the Maryland State Police and Baltimore Police Departments, insists legalization is protecting our children. It's not necessarily being pro-marijuana, it's legalization brings some regulation that you think is important.
Absolutely. So when I say legalization, hear the word regulation, because you can't regulate anything that is prohibited. You just turn all control over to the cartels, organized crime, gangs and crews that bring gun violence and other violence into our communities. And the #1 way of getting their products out, marijuana, is to hire children. Children are easy to control. You don't have to pay them as much as you pay adults. And they're not penalized as much when they get caught. Mm-hmm. And so they're back out, in and out of the system. Not only that, Dr. Phil, under Prohibition, and it was earlier we were talking about the increase in potency. That potency of what has been grown and what continues to be grown, you can't regulate when it's prohibited. That accelerated potency occurred under Prohibition policies. You only have a chance to tailor that under regulation. You have absolutely no chance of doing it when it's prohibited because it's controlled by organized crime at various levels. But my main concern is protecting these kids from being involved in selling. And who do they sell to? They sell to their peers in our school. There's so much that can be done under regulation. We're just early into this. Yeah. But I can guarantee you one thing. Under Prohibition, our kids are at serious risk, and this is about risk management.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.